Coming up on a homecoming edition of Flashtalk, brought to you by Brian Heating & Cooling, head coach Kenni Burns talks about the game against Eastern Michigan and previews our homecoming matchup with Buffalo. Oliver Billotte talks about his life on the defensive line and the adjustment to the new coaching staff. Dante Haynes talks about our student-athlete and student body experience. And Haley Eckerman talks about the big victory over Miami and previews next week against BG. As always, we take a look at what's going on around Kent State. That's all coming up in a flash. Welcome inside the GFTV studios for another edition of Flash Talk. Dan Griffin alongside head football coach Kenni Burns, and coach, a tough one on Saturday, battling the Eagles and the elements.
Yeah, that's part of football and in this league, right? Playing in some different elements and weather, but really good football team we played, and I think we saw us make some growth in certain areas, but still a lot of improvement we need.
Yeah, for those that are the uninitiated, about 45 degrees, driving wind and rain through the majority of the game, but as a running backs coach, that means you turn to the ground game, and Jalen Thomas, that offensive line, really played well.
Yeah, from a running back standpoint, it's kind of like a dream come true, right? I mean, you're sitting there now and saying, you know what, we're going to run the ball in this game, and I think you saw our running backs, our O-line do that. I thought we did a good job establishing line of scrimmage and getting like 4 yards to carry, which is what we always want to be at. So we just got to bring the other units along with it and be able to handle the elements of a game and be able to play in those type of conditions.
Yeah, and you guys were able to sustain some lengthy drives. You had a couple of 10-plus play drives, and you gotta love being able to shorten the game, especially when the weather can kind of dictate everything, and those are things you can't control.
Yeah, if we finish a couple of drives there, we've got some points on the board, and that's the biggest thing this week is just finish. We did what we wanted to do by running the ball and staying on the field and keeping our defense off the field. Now we just got to finish drives and take advantage of wearing the defense down.
And you mentioned the defense, and they really shut down Smith, their dual threat quarterback, to where, especially in the early goings of the game, Eastern really couldn't do a whole lot. I really thought you guys controlled that line of scrimmage on both sides.
Yeah, our D-line, they played well, and it's been a couple weeks now. They've been playing pretty well. In the secondary, we're getting better for sure. And if you look at it for us, we started the game fast, and I think we're finishing strong. It's that middle section of the game where we're really starting to struggle. The first 5 drives, I think they were 3 and out. And then the 6th and 7th drive are both touchdowns, and then we go back to 3 straight drives with 3 and out. So again, it's just the defense being able to handle those 2 drives in the middle and find out what we're doing wrong so we can fix them. Because if it takes scoring 0, then we got to make them score 0. And we'll get there on defense. Then our offense is progressing. I think the biggest thing you saw there is we were able to run the ball a little bit more. If we can get the pass game there too and learn how to finish some drives, I think they'll be right on cue as well.
Yeah, we saw both Mike and Tommy battle the elements, and Tommy played a little bit more in the second half and developed Krishan McCray is going to be a mark of consistency. It's looking more and more like each and every week. This week it was Luke Fullery that stepped up into that number 2 role. And
Luke stepped up and did well. And understand this, it's always because they're probably doing something to take Krishan out the game that opens up another receiver and gives them opportunity, right? And Luke took advantage of it. He probably has got a couple of drops in there that he want back. And I think all the receivers probably have a couple of drops in there they want back a little bit. But they'll learn from them. We'll get better. But again, it was good to see Luke have a good day.
Buffalo Bulls come to town, and this is a team that is 2-1 in the Mid-American Conference, and a couple of classic matchups between these two teams over the last few years.
Yeah, it's always been a pretty good game. It looks like studying this rival, or I wouldn't say the rivalry yet, but game, and I'm sure this one will be no different. I know Mo Link was really well. We were together at Minnesota for a year, and very good friends, and our wives are friends. So we won't talk this week, but I got a lot of respect for how they play and what they do. And for us, coming back here and playing at home on homecoming. It's going to be a great environment. A lot of our old alumni will be back in town, and we'll welcome it when the gold out, and it'll be fun.
Yeah, your schedule really shifts geographically to kind of benefit you guys. You got 3 home games left on the schedule, and then 1 obviously short rivalry trip within the next few weeks. So you guys get to sleep in your own beds and get to kind of control those controllables here in Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, for sure. That's exciting, being back in front of our friends, and then Max will start and playing during the midweek games, and we're excited about it. Excited about the opportunity that we have to finish strong.
Well, you mentioned homecoming, playing a team like Buffalo. Really quickly, what do they like to do on both sides of the ball that you're going to have to plan for on Saturday?
Yeah, offensively, they kind of spread you out. They're an RPO system type team. They do a lot of things with moving the tight end, and we call it inserting him. And they just kind of move pieces around, and you've got to be able to adjust when they move their pieces around. They've got really athletic receivers that can go make plays down the field. They've got an experienced running back who does a good job of breaking tackles and keeping them on schedule. And we just got to go out there and we got to do what we do and play well on defense. We got to stop the run. We got to limit the explosive plays, and we got to really cage the quarterback and make him get uncomfortable.
Oh, go ahead.
Then from the other side, defensively, they're a team that, Mo's a defensive guy, so you can see his elements all over the defensive tape and what he wants to do and who they want to become. And they play fast, they play aggressive, and we got to be able to make some plays down the field and challenge their secondary.
Well, it's going to be a great game. The festivities start all day long with the parade, and I know you guys don't need any more motivation than to be back at home, get the grit walk going, and get the party started here at Dick Stadium.
Yeah, we can't wait. I know it's my first homecoming here, but all I've heard, it's a great environment and a great stage, and I know our guys are ready to do this.
Kickoff is at 3:30. We want to see you loud. We want to see you early here at Dick Stadium, cheering on this man, Kenni Burns, and the Golden Flashes. Best of luck as we prepare for the Bulls.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And go Flashes, kick grip.
Welcome back inside the GFTV studios. It is Flash Talk brought to you by Brian Heating and Cooling. Dan Griffin alongside defensive lineman Oliver Billotte. And, sir, thank you for a few moments of your time and joining us here on set.
Yes, sir.
Well, obviously the weather played a big role against EMU. That's got to be a fun kind of environment to play in when the rain and snow is taking over.
Absolutely. When you talk football, that's what I think of is like the inclement weather, and it's a little bit on the chillier side. Like you play those games in the beginning, especially when you go down south and it's 90 degrees, super humid and stuff like that. And especially as a bigger guy, like that's no fun for me. So I definitely enjoy that kind of weather a lot more.
Well, you're obviously in the second year as a defensive lineman, probably second year overall playing the position. So talk about the transition. You were a quarterback and linebacker in high school. Talk about your growth as you get used to playing a down lineman position.
Absolutely. So in high school, I went to a super small high school, so it was like wherever the best players were, you put them in the best positions. And so playing quarterback, I feel like that's helped me a lot understand defenses and understand the game, as my coach calls it, FBI football intelligence. And as translating to D-line, you understand the game a lot more. So, and you, as a guy who the main job is to get the quarterback, you understand what he's thinking. So I feel like that helps me a lot in terms of playing D-line.
All right, so that transition, obviously the growth has been there as you've established yourself as one of the mainstays on that line. Just talk about the transition into this Kent Grit era, and a lot of things changed, but one thing that didn't were most of your teammates and your positions coach.
Yes, absolutely. So with this transition to the Grit era is definitely a big adjustment at first, and when Coach Burns came in, Coach Farrell called me on the phone. He called me right away, told me who the new head coach was and everything like that, and thought that we were going to be a good fit. And ended up, Coach Burns, in my opinion, couldn't have been a better option for this team. I feel like this is the change we needed culturally. And as a D-line, I felt like it took a little bit of time, but we've adopted the culture and really starting to get a better understanding of what he wants out of us. So really blessed to be in the position that we're in right now, and I'm excited for the future as a D-line.
Well, you look at the defense and you almost take every yard personally. That's kind of the mentality and the attack that we see when you guys are going good. Is that a fair assessment that you guys basically defend each and every yard as if it was the goal line?
Absolutely. As my coach always says, as a D lineman, you have to be a little bit defiant. And so in that way, you take every yard personal, you take every snap, but you got to be a violent dude to play on the D line. And as a defense as a whole, you have to be someone who is you got to want to go hit somebody. So I feel like that is a way to look at it, as in terms of it is personal in a sense.
You also were a wrestler growing up and in high school. To me, a lot of that hand fighting, that initial burst that you get on the defensive line, especially a rush end like yourself, that has to translate a little bit back to the square circle.
Absolutely. It's a mentality thing, of course. It's a one-on-one, and that's what D-line comes down to a lot. It's one man versus another man, and it's accountability for your wins and your losses, and then on top of that, just going back to the violence thing with hand fighting, and footwork is a big thing too, because you gotta, like when you're in wrestling, you're taking shots and you gotta switch up your footwork. It's the same thing. It's a technique and a tactical thing to make them think you're doing one thing and set up another move to come back to later, and that's where you win and you lose.
Well, Oliver, thank you for a few moments of your time. It's been exciting to watch you and the D-line grow leaps and bounds, and go get them this week against Buffalo.
I appreciate that.
Well, let's take a look at what's going on around Kent State Athletics, brought to you by KSUTix.com. Our busy weekend gets started on Thursday evening when our soccer team welcomes in first place Western Michigan for a 7 p.m. kickoff. It's our most valuable professor night, plus a hot cocoa bar inside Dick Stadium at Zeller Field. On Saturday, our football team welcomes in Buffalo for a 3:30 homecoming game kickoff. More on that in the next segment. And we wrap the weekend with our field hockey team hosting Longwood at noon on Pride Day. And as always, find us on your favorite social media platform at Kent State Athletics. For Kent State tickets, events, and group ticket information, visit ksutix.com. For a look behind the scenes, press conferences, highlights, and more, follow us on YouTube at GFTV. For stats, stories, and complete information on your Golden Flashes, visit us on the web at kentstatesports.com. Welcome back into the GFTV studios. We're brought to you by Brian Heating and Cooling. Dan Griffin alongside Dante Haynes. He's our GA for the We Are Kent State initiative, and that's really all about student-athlete experience and then our student body really getting the most out of our home games. Mm-hmm. So talk to us a little bit about how that initiative came to be and your role in growing the student experience.
Yeah, so the We Are Kent State initiative is actually under the Division of Student Affairs, and the initiative was really created to really increase our fan engagement at our athletic contest, because we had this thing where we were getting people there, but we really weren't able to engage our fans that much. So, this initiative was really created to really figure out innovative ways to really, integrate what we have going on with Spirit, band, and our fan section all at the same time to really create an atmosphere that students are going to long for, when they see pictures and videos of what happened, in the past weekend at whatever game it is. We really want to create that idea where it's like, dang, I missed out. So that's really the main idea of what our initiative is.
Yeah, you're looking for an electrifying experience, kind of that fear of missing out. And one of the big steps you guys took from the jump was rebranding the student section. It is now known as the Flock. So talk to us a little bit about what went into that process and how people can follow along with everything that you guys are doing.
Yeah, so that was actually an interesting process. We had just kind of an overall list of names that the department kind of came up with, but it was a really great opportunity to kind of see what our fans wanted, and after the couple surveys that we had, the fans ended up choosing Flash's Flock, so that's what we went with. And I think it's a great name, and I think it really encaptures really what that flock is. We really want everyone to be, together. And so that idea of the flock, I think, is a great way to encompass that.
Yeah, we've seen a great student turnout for our first couple of home games. Obviously, on the football side, volleyball's attendance has grown leaps and bounds. Same with soccer and field hockey. But this week, obviously, homecoming. Talk to us a little bit about everything that the fans, both students and otherwise, can expect from a game day experience at Dick Stadium.
We have a lot of great things going on. We have a field goal challenge at the end of the third, which is going to be, I think, for $25,000, a 40-yard field goal. So any student that goes to the game will have the opportunity to be chosen for that and selected for an opportunity to compete with that. We're also going to be giving away a scooter at the game. So any fan that goes to the game that's a student in the student section, we're going to be doing a giveaway. And so they'll have, really multiple opportunities to kind of win some cool prizes and really kind of engage with, the entire day that is homecoming.
Yeah, and we've got a happy hour before the game. We've got also got that big student tailgate where we have DJ Smills. We've got a golf simulator. We've got tailgating going on. So it's a great experience to really kind of make it a day-long event with your fellow Flashes.
Yeah, I think it's just really a great opportunity for everyone to really come out and show their, pride for Kent State University. I think it's going to be really important for this for our football team to have that support, especially with a strong opponent like Buffalo, So it's really just another great opportunity to continue to grow, continue to get the fans there, continue to really build that atmosphere and really kind of show out, and show that we are Kent State University.
It's a gold out as well, so be sure to wear your Kent State gold. And then obviously when we move back indoors for basketball season, for wrestling, and for gymnastics, you guys always have some great campaigns. We're talking a lot of happy hours, a lot of food giveaways, but you've got to be a part of Flash's Flock in order to get the giveaways and get the most out of the student-athlete experience. What are the best ways for them to keep up to date with everything that you guys have got going on for a specific event?
Yeah, so the best way for any fan to really be kind of up to date with our promos, giveaways, what we have going on is following our Kent State Flash Flock account. And that, will give you all the information that you need in terms of, everything going on. Anyone that's interested in becoming part of the Flash's Flock and really, becoming an engaged member should definitely follow that account. If you reach out in that account as well and show your interest, the account is very responsive. So, we might be able to also, have an opportunity for you to come in and help out and, help create the atmosphere for the games.
And that's on Instagram at Flash's Flock. Dante, thank you very much for helping expand the student-athlete experience, the student experience, and let us know everything that's going on.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Let's take a look at your homecoming festivities. It starts in the morning with the annual homecoming parade. You are going to want to get to Dick Stadium early for an extended tailgate that will feature Big Shots Golf, Raisin Canes, plus live music from DJ Smills. Students can sign up for a 40-yard kick, and if they make the field goal, that's $25,000 in cold hard cash. Welcome your Golden Flashes into Dick Stadium with the Grit Walk around 1 p.m. And be sure to wear your gold. It is our gold out as we welcome in the Buffalo Bulls. Welcome back inside the GFTV studios. It's Flash Talk brought to you by Brian Hing and Cooling. Dan Griffin alongside head volleyball coach Haley Eckerman. Talk about a big Friday night sweep of the Miami Redhawks. What was working in that big 3-set victory?
Yeah, I think last week when we were scouting, our biggest thing was focusing on us and what our keys to success would be. So consistent energy, working together, stopping the runs. A lot of the things that have been a struggle for us this season so far. And it shows when we compete and we do those things and we focus in on those keys that we can be successful. And I think that was the difference the next day is we kept it the same. Everything was the same. We knew they were going to come out and battle. But the energy was kind of up and down. I don't know if it's this kind of weather. We're getting into that fall of the rainy mess, but also just the run piece of it, stopping the runs is really what got us in that second day of the match.
Well, we've talked at length about how it is a momentum sport and how you guys can build off that home energy and build off of a couple of key runs. And sometimes it is just a point or two here or there to stop the opposing teams from quieting that energy and quieting that momentum that can be the difference in a set and then subsequently the match.
Yeah, and it's hard to rep that out. We try our hardest in practice, but in the end, it's so different than basketball and other things because the set play that's coming up. The way volleyball works is their potential plays, but it all just depends on what the ball does, and so it's really hard to kind of prepare for that because you never know how the passes are going to go and how just the momentum change of that's going to be. And I think it's one of those that it's hard to predict of how, and that's why people catch people on certain nights just because you never know how the game's going to go.
Well, you mentioned that, and that takes us into this week's test heading on the road to Bowling Green. It is homecoming for both schools, but you guys are going to go try to spoil their party.
Yeah, I think when you have so many things going on, that's when you can kind of catch some people. They get overexcited and they start looking too far forward. And I think obviously us taking it 1 point at a time, 1 set at a time, 1 game at a time. But this is kind of that chance that we have to kind of catch them. They've kind of been up and down. Lost on night 1 against Ohio. So they're kind of in that back and forth battle too. So I think for us, we've got to play consistent, but I think this is a team that we can catch on a good night.
Now, getting out of the distractions from homecoming has got to be at least a little beneficial for you guys because when you're on the road, yeah, there is a lot of downtime, but you can control the mindset. You can kind of control the narrative as opposed to, all right, well, we're going to meet at 2, so go enjoy the homecoming parade. Just be careful, everybody, and you just assume that they're going to be able to take care of business.
Yeah, and I think too, even when we're home, it's nice sleeping in our beds, but then you get classes on Fridays and just all those sort of things where we kind of slow it down. We'll get up a little bit later. We'll have a breakfast, but then we'll do some study hall where we're just kind of like focused in on one thing at a time, and then going into our lunch, and it allows them a little bit more time of just focusing on the game.
Yeah, and it's going to be a later game too on Saturday. They've elected to play after the football game, so you guys get a full day to kind of rest and recover while hopefully the Falcons are distracted by all the festivities going on at homecoming, but at least you guys get the full day to just get mentally right and do the things that you need to do to be successful on the court.
Yeah, I think too, with the bodies that we have right now, I think it's good to have a full day of rest in that piece, and instead of turning around and having to play at 4 o'clock and pushing everything 2 hours ahead, and make sure breakfast earlier, make sure serve and pass earlier. And so this just allows us to get all that rest then that we can to hopefully come back after night 1 to battle again night 2.
Now, obviously, having seen everything kind of click and work on Friday, what's the mood of the team, the momentum of the team going, all right, guys, we've got this in us. Let's make sure that we hit that consistent mark on everything going forward.
Yeah, one of the things after Friday's match I talked to them was, when you're driving in a car, you look more out your windshield than you do your rear view mirror, but you have to glance in at times. And so keeping that win in that rear view, but still driving forward and moving forward with it, but knowing there is the opportunity to do it, and there's the success of it if we keep glancing at those pieces of it instead of looking back at the rest of the season.
Well, best of luck as you take on the Falcons out on the road here this week. Thank you again for the moment of your time. Let's talk about another 2-0 week as we join you again next Monday.
Yes, that's the goal.
That's going to do it for this edition of Flash Talk, brought to you by Brian Heating and Cooling. Join us once again next week when we take a deep dive inside Kent State athletics. For all of us here inside the GFTV studios, this is Dan Griffin saying goodnight and go Flashes.